What is something I can talk about today? I'm just going to speak my mind here. And that's probably not the best of choices when making videos like these and posting them online, but there are plenty of people that do it with some of the most ridiculous opinions and illogical of logics and most ill of intents. But they do it anyway, so... Economics. Yes, economics. I'm going to be talking about fucking economics. Woohoo. Yeehaw. Let's go. Make some money. I found a Where's George dollar bill the other fucking day. It's from North Carolina, right next door. Last one that I found was all the way back in California. 3 freaking years ago. Actually, no, 4 freaking years ago. Money travels a long way, but this thing took 43 days to travel 100 miles. The other one took 145 days, I think, to travel 2,500. Probably flew. The other one drove. Money, flying, and driving, does that make sense then? That's what are economics. Money moves fast. A lot of people don't understand that. You know what a lot of people don't understand? A particular age group that doesn't understand? My generation doesn't understand jack shit about economics. I can tell you a lot of shit. Just remember. Bernie Sanders' tax plan over the next 10 years would put us into a further $15 trillion in federal deficits. Or federal debt. Not deficits. Debt. 15 fucking trillion. Doesn't really matter even though we already have 101 trillion fucking dollars in unpaid subsidies. Think. It's not subsidies, it's something else, but it's unfunded bonds, basically. It's that's what it is. There's a particular word for it. Drop a crack in the neck. This is very uncomfortable. Goddamn chair. About Bernie Sanders again. Bernie Sanders. Oh, my generation. Most of my generation is voting for Bernie Sanders. Mainly because he has good intentions. But the fact remains that a lot of economists have pointed out that my generation, we have really good intentions, but we have absolutely no economic sense. And that will drag us down in economic ruin. We don't know what we're doing to ourselves at the moment because we are economically illiterate in a sense that no previous generation has been. How can I prove this? Well, I can't really. But I can't really blame my generation either. Because my parents and their grandparents' generation, my generation views all forms of capitalism, except for social capitalism, as corruptible and evil in that. All forms of it, except for social capitalism. If that's even a thing. Socialized democracy. That's another thing. Socialized Socialized democracy doesn't entail socialist economic policies, as in the frickin' what should we call it? Can't remember the name. Norway, Sweden, and Finland. I have a world map right above my desk, so. And also Denmark. They have a socialist democratic party, but they do not have socialist economic policies in the way that us Americans think of them, you know? They are actually very pro-capitalist. Very pro-capitalist. And they understand that you can't tax the big-ass corporations because they're far and few between. Even though they have the majority of, well, a good chunk of money, it's not going to be enough in order to pay for the other 75% of the population. Just isn't. When it comes to social benefits, including healthcare and education. They can provide a chunk of it, but the rest of that society has to pay for it. Somehow. Out of pocket. Through taxes. So, with American standing, with American economics, the theory is that if you tax the big corporations, you'll get the majority of the money from them, and then you won't have to tax as much. You may have to raise the tax a little, but you won't have to tax as much the middle class and the lower class on welfare benefits and that kind of thing. Socialized medicine and also education. But the thing is that you're going to have to raise, like, okay. Here's the thing. Here's what's really going to happen. They're going to do that. They're going to implement these huge-ass taxes for these big corporations. Those big corporations are not going to be able to employ as much people, let alone pay more for these people, raise their wages and that kind of thing, so that they'll be able to sustain their way of living whilst also paying extra taxes for the socialized medicine and education. So you're going to have the entire middle class crunch into a very small middle class, about 25% of the population, and the rest of the lower class, working very dull manual labor jobs that are very low paying. And there's barely any money in the middle class. There's very little money in the lower class. And the higher class, the big-ass corporations too, they're already getting taxed to hell. 50% tax rates. Middle class is going to get up to 45%. But there's barely a middle class. So, tax the big-ass corporations. They can't afford to employ anybody, so they lay off people. The major money source for those taxes, where you should be getting the taxes from, shrinks and also crunches down in wages. So there's even less money and less people to be able to pay those the majority of the taxes like it's supposed to. And there's going to be a huge dependent lower class that actually needs those welfare benefits now because they don't have a fucking job or enough money in order to pay for the shit that they need. That's a welfare dependent class that is created because people want the people think that they need socialized medicine and healthcare. Well, no, not because of that. But because the government thinks that we can get those things, and also the general public thinks that we can get those things by screwing over the major contributors to making the money and employing the people in order to just... They're choking off their main source of the money in doing so. The Swedes, Norwegians, and Denmark, it just... all those countries, what they do is actually promote venture capitalism, entrepreneurship, and that kind of thing. So you have even more companies, more businesses, more growth, more economic growth, more money flowing around, more jobs, that kind of thing. Very low unemployment, but then they put a flat tax, I think, on pretty much everything. So higher corporations, they are able to pay their workers even more so that they can pay even more taxes so that they can have socialized health care and education. Here's the thing, though. They're still in debt because of the fucking economic crisis and that kind of thing, and it's not getting any better. So, in theory, it should work, but right now, it's probably not the best fucking time, since you guys are already in debt, and you're experimenting with this really crazy fucking idea that no one has really done before in history, you know, as far as I know, on a massive economic, political scale, multinational, just bonanza, and you have a very scared, highly undereducated populace. It's not a good idea at all, really. Just no. I mean, if it works out, that's fucking great, okay? We get free healthcare, free education, and the companies, you can found your own fucking company, be able to employ a bunch of more people, be able to make all the money that you want, you pay the same flat tax rate as everybody else, but middle class, they get their benefits. You get to keep your fucking company from collapsing and not going on government subsidies itself like McDonald's and fucking Walmart. And just, shit works out. You know? And the Americans, they haven't thought of this shit. They think that doing the complete opposite is going to work out, when it isn't. My generation thinks this is the best fucking idea that is yet to come since... what should we call it? Oh yeah, women's suffrage. No! This is not a good idea. In fact, it's going to make things worse for you guys than it is already. And you guys are already suffering. You guys are already scared. Well, guess what's waiting on the other fucking side of what you think is right? Burnt black fucking grass that you're going to burn your souls on. Souls as in inside and souls as in feet. Because it's hell, get it? Yeah. But, yeah, it's... I feel bad for my generation. You guys... my generation can argue as much as they want, but from the trends I see, and the trends that you guys also see, but don't see as much as me, because you selectively tune out these things through social media and that kind of thing, and the friends you keep, and the things you watch, and you don't believe it. You think common sense to you guys is like, has become almost, no, economic common sense has become almost like this right-wing bigotry that comes out of the fucking InfoWars. It's absurd. no, it isn't. This is the shit. This is the shit that's going to happen. And you guys are throwing yourselves into a fucking ditch. I'm just standing here like, hey, I warned you guys, okay? You guys are fucking yourselves over, and you could have listened, you know. There's this YouTube channel called Secular Talk. He is very pro-Bernie Sanders. He thinks that he's a believer in the whole, yes, we should model the U.S. after Denmark. But the thing is that this is a very common argument. They have a much smaller population, and they don't employ socialist economics over there. There's a difference between governing and economics. There's a difference between democracy and free market capitalism, even though the two are usually associated with each other. Because democracy has more freedom than pretty much any other government there is out there today, why not have a free-ass economy? Promotion of freedom, have a free economy. But if you don't promote freedom, you're not going to have a free fucking economy. If you're scared to shit about things going a little bit wrong, and you try to regulate things to hell, then yeah, it's not going to work out for you. I wrote something last night when I was on night shift. We've become so focused on equality and control that as a society, we've forgotten the meaning of prosperity and freedom and have turned them into cliches. We have turned them into fucking cliches. Into catchphrases, catchwords. Freedom! Prosperity! That's what the East is. No, the West. And really, there's less freedom and way less prosperity than there was 20 years ago. We're trying new systems, and we're failing miserably at it, because we have backwards logic and a highly undereducated populace. You think the dumbing down of America is fucking conspiracy, then wait until you hear the connections to that shit, including this. Dumbing down of America so that if you... InfoWars may be fucking crazy, but they have some theories out there that are people, when a conspiracy theory comes true, people are like, well, this makes Alex Jones sound sane. Well, this shit is going to make him sound sane. I'm not going to accuse liberals of taking away your guns and shit. Just, they're scared. And the media and the government is reinforcing that fear through systems of control that we cannot identify for ourselves until we've been the controllers, until we've seen the controllers. If that makes sense, you know? I'm really just wandering here. I'm really fucking tired. I just had a 12-hour night shift. Just fuck, man. A lot of people in my generation, they're going to want to go to college. But college, okay, they want free college. Well, right now, in order to go to college, where are you going to get that money? Oh yeah, student loans. Where does that come from? Government money. What is that? That's the type of government subsidy as it is. You just have to pay it back. So you guys want the government subsidy, but you don't want to pay it back. Because you barely have anything as it is. Yeah, you're like, that's going to work. It's barely working as it is, even if they're trying to make money. And it's not working out. In order to sustain the continuous college, the massively expanding grossing college education in the U.S. that's here today. How the fuck are we supposed to have a system where the government hands out free shit and it gets nothing back in return? It's barely working as it is, where it gives out stuff and then asks for it in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just a little bit over a 10-year period, where there's absolutely no guarantees. It's not working out. It's obvious why it isn't. So how the fuck is free college supposed to work? Yes, we have a right to higher education, but there are other ways about it. In fact, college can be completely eliminated as an educational source. In fact, the public education system can be eliminated through the use of technologies of today. You have things like Khan Academy, Code Academy, the fucking YouTube as it is. Even though it may not be the best educational source, you have things like Numberphile, Computer File, and PBS Spacetime, which are actually pretty good, which educate people on very specific subjects very deeply, and actually teach people. Or you can teach yourself at your own pace. The people that actually want to move forward will move forward at a staggering pace, not held behind by teachers or classrooms of absolute stupidity or higher levels of control, including their principals and their school districts. Nothing will hold them behind. What they want to know, they will learn and know eventually, in all eventuality. They will excel far beyond their dreams in comparison to if they were in a public education school. The rich may be able to bypass this, but people like me, no. Private education is for the rich, yes. I actually had my own private education. I went to an academy in 6th and 7th grade, and then a specialized school for troubled kids in 8th grade. It was all online. All my education was online. But as you see, I got my entire 8th grade education online at my own pace, and I completed it. In fact, I did the majority of the crap early. I finished science, I think I did math around near the end of the year, but I'm a bit slow as it is on the mathematical part. But I was able to learn at my own pace what I was interested in, and I got all that crap done in the matter of time that I wanted to. The teachers you had to check in with the teachers when you wanted to. Teachers were maybe checking on you if you weren't doing your work at a steady pace, or if you were messing around online, that kind of thing. But still, there are other educational forms out there. Besides educational institutions that are over 250 fucking years old. 200 years old, maybe. Not 50, I don't know. Not the extra 50. Maybe 220 years old at this point. So, instead of begging the government to give you something free that is already broken as it is and won't get you anywhere, in fact, it will make you fucking dumber probably, it won't benefit you in any way, shape, or form. How about you create a system where you can get it for free and it actually benefits you, you actually gain something from it, and you're not in $100,000 fucking dollars in debt. Maybe not 100,000, 35,000 is usually the average, but still, that's an entire fucking car right there, a brand new fucking car. And maybe a down payment on a house, No big deal, $35,000 in debt. So, we as a generation have the power to create an entirely new system from the technology and the know-how that we have. But we're begging the government that fucked us over in order to give free shit that isn't working as it is? What? No! This is why I don't understand my generation. Either they, one, don't care enough, two, are too hyped up about other things, or three, they're controlled by the higher forces that I already know of and just don't care to partake in, and they just ignore it, or they believe in something else completely different that's going to put them in a shithole, and they don't think so. I can't do the whole comparison where, oh, you're driving towards a cliff at 100 miles an hour and blah, 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 but you're going to ignore it. No, this is a whole different thing. With systems like these, you're changing the course of an entire generation. How they think, how they will contribute to the world. And in this era of the 21st century, the most important century to come about to humanity and all of human history, the biggest paradigm shift that will ever be. And we have people like social justice warriors that are obsessed over sex and race. They could be using all their time and brain power instead on trying to fix things. Actual things. Not just social constructs like they say they are, but literal actual shit. Like hover bikes. Or medical technologies and creating new government systems. Or creating computer systems that run the Federal fucking Reserve. You could create a artificial intelligence, a deep neural network that will be able to manage the entire Federal Reserve without any human intervention. There goes corruption! Problem fucking solved! Inflation, goodbye! Holy shit. Well, if you could do that with the rest of the government branches. Or, what if you cut them down completely, streamline the system through fucking technology, and eliminated human corruption and human intervention from it? I know it sounds crazy, and it sounds fucking scary, because you're basically handing over the controls of the entire civilization to a fucking computer, but it'll solve our fucking issues. We have geniuses out there that will be able to figure this shit out, but yet, we're not talking about it. And this isn't economic illiteracy, this is creative illiteracy. Thinking outside the box illiteracy. Common sense illiteracy. What they think is common sense is complete fucking rubbish. This, well, maybe not complete. It has its own logic within itself. Just outside of it, it's just, no, it's not going to work. You apply it to the real world, it's not going to fucking work. It's like, this is actually pretty interesting. There was a certain thing where if you tried to apply it to the real world, it wouldn't work. Okay. Let me think. Like certain sci-fis. There are some things out there where, like, oh, Google Glass is gonna be such a fucking cool thing. Apply it to the real world? No one gives a shit. No, it's not like it's economically viable, but it doesn't look cool. It's not cool. It's just no. You're not going to get a lot of money from that shit. Sorry, it's just not going to work. That's how it is. As cool as the concept may be, as futuristic as it may be, as radical as it may be, a lot of the time it just plain doesn't fucking work. No matter how deeply you go into the internal logic of that certain thing. Sorry. And this is what I'm talking about. When it comes to my generation, we have our own internal logic, our own internal reality of certain things. What we think we know. We think we know all the shit in the world that's going on right now, but you don't hear a single one of my generation. At least 95 out of every 100 people, you'll not hear talking about how one of the most beautiful waterfalls in Africa was destroyed because some U.S. corporation decided to build a fucking dam upstream from it. And that country that it was built in doesn't even use 2% of the electricity that's produced from it. You won't hear shit like that being talked about in the majority of my generation. Whatever comes to light in the moment from the media, from the general news, is what is of importance. When there are much, much, much grander issues that they need to be talked about, but no one hears about them. And then we blame it on government cover-ups. No, this was very well documented at the time. It's still around, it's still happening, it's still a fucking problem. It's just not trending anymore. We're the trending generation. Whatever's trending at the moment is the most important issue of all time, blah, blah, blah. And then it fades into the background, but if something related to that, it pops up again. We're like, oh, remember that thing? Yeah, but this thing's the newest, and that's the biggest problem. Yeah, this is just continuation, I guess, but this is bigger. There are things out there that are more important than what people perceive of your sex, of your race, of what your ancestry is, of whether or not your laptop screen is working or not. I'm gonna knock on glass for home. Whether or not your headphones are fucking working. First world problems. My generation will sit around and complain about all the things that bad happen to them, but they don't realize, they don't ever come to think about. They may come to think about, but it doesn't really impact them in such a way that it should. Holy shit, I have running water. I have hot running water. I have a toilet. You know, only 1 of every 7 people on the planet has a fucking toilet. Right? Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. Only around the richest 1 million people on the planet have toilets. Everyone else has to shit somewhere else. Out in the wild, in the middle of the city streets. Sounds pleasant, doesn't it? You heard the whole Bill Gates recyclable toilet, that kind of thing. That's basically what it's for, but it's a hype thing. Oh, once the money comes out, oh, this is a really important issue. Where were you 10 years ago when this was still an issue? We're a hype generation, we're a trend generation, we're a very short-term thinking generation, we're an in-the-moment generation, we're a very us generation. We're also a very close-minded generation. We're a very centered focus generation. Well, not really focused. Well, no, it's very focused on us. It's our issues, our problems, what we perceive to be problems in the world. What our generation thinks is a problem may not be even a problem at all. There are some things that are actually our problems. like cops killing civilian in some of the largest numbers in the fucking world. Yes, that's a very first world problem. But you have groups like Boko Haram in Africa that are killing hundreds of thousands of Africans, and the media doesn't cover that. You have to search. You have to do your research on this shit to figure out, oh, what's Boko Haram? It's an African terrorist organization fighting the government of Zimbabwe, I think, or Kenya. It's in that region. But just there are much larger problems out there, and this generation has this argument where, oh, you're just covering up this issue with another issue. No, this is objectively a much fucking bigger issue than what we're dealing with here. This is an international human rights violation. Cops killing civilians, yeah, that's also a thing, but not in large as numbers, and they're not terrorists. This is a type of self-inflicted domestic terrorism, I guess, for cops killing civilians. But shit over in Africa, that's like the new fucking Holocaust. Nothing like that in the First World, or yet, let alone Second World or Third World. This is Fourth World shit. This is destitute nations. Nations that have no way of getting to that bottom rung and pulling themselves out of the gutter so that they can get to a better place. No, they're going downhill economically, socially. They're tearing themselves a fucking new one from the inside out. They're entering into a new dark ages. Sounds fun, eh? We may as well go along with them if we continue focusing on our very slight and minor issues in the First World, as big as they may be, and not taking care of shit like that, where hundreds of thousands of people are fucking dying. We selectively tune out things, and then selectively think of things that are important. It may just be because we don't know, but you can look these things up when they're mentioned. You can look back on them and be like, hey, maybe I should work on this. Maybe I should do something about it. For real. Make this a long-term goal, instead of focusing on the short-term things. We become a very short-term generation. Because that's what scared generations do. We think short-term. We don't have time to think long-term. When things aren't stable, we rush to try to get a more stable place. But in doing so, we may cause even more instability. An eventual collapse. Total and utter collapse. In freaking out, when the snake bites you, you only kill yourself faster. Simple as that. Snake bites you, you whack it off, you try to stay calm so that your heart rate doesn't rise up and spread the venom throughout your body even faster. You may want to wrap your arm off so that all the blood doesn't go flowing through the rest of your body. Minimize the amount of venom. that goes to your heart. And then you try to call for help so you don't have to move that much. Deep breathing, vacuum. No, you don't. Once you get bit, you don't take to rip that snake off, cause even more blood and shit come out of your arm. You freak out, you start running, and just start breathing heavily, freaking out. No, you're just killing yourself faster. Good job. Same thing when it comes to governments, politics, and economics, and world issues. We have to think more clearly. We have to think more long term. Even though the times are rough, we must have clarity. And yet, we refuse to see through the fog of what is the system, these systems of control, of selectively thinking that these are important issues, if you know what I mean. Government illiteracy, short-term thinking, or no, not government illiteracy, economic illiteracy, world issues illiteracy, short-term thinking, lack of wisdom, and the scarring of what the latest generations, the last generations have done to us on a governmental and economic scale. We want change, but we aren't willing to wait for it. Because we grew up in the age of the internet, we get everything as we want now. That's why we've tried to speed up things up so much online. And we have, in general, greater internet speeds, just faster computers, everything. Real world, societal change is much, much, much slower than technological change. My generation doesn't seem to understand that. My generation doesn't understand a lot of things from my perspective. I may not understand the nuances of subtle language in socializing and being with people in parties and that kind of thing, but that's not my fucking thing. And it may be the same with them, but they pretend to think that they know. They get involved, they try to control everything. They try to set the course of history, and they don't really know anything. They pretend they think they know. It's like vampires pretend to be humans, pretend to be vampires. It's hilarious to know that they're actually vampires trying to pretend to be humans, trying to pretend to be vampires. They could just act like vampires, but no, they must add the extra 2 layers. What's the point? Stay out of it. You can try, but you only bring ruin upon your own generation. Maybe you may be filled to the brim with good intentions like Bernie Sanders, but in the end, if you think clearly about it, if you have enough sense about you, common sense, you'll understand that no, that isn't the right thing. No matter how good intentioned it may seem. Now, people may have to sacrifice their lives in order to get shit done, but if it gets us to a better place in the end, along with the rest of the world, people have to sacrifice their time and their livelihood in order to do so. Their pleasure. Fucking do it! Let's do it! In order to gain something, you must sacrifice something else that you already have. You can't have it all. And my generation does not understand that. As good intentioned as we want to have it all, but we can't. My generation has a long way to fucking